What are we doing today, Kevin?
I'm looking at bins of man-eating reticulated pythons. You know, they say in 5 years these things grow 25 feet. No, in all seriousness, these are reticulated pythons.
And they're man-eaters.
No.
They're not man-eaters?
They're mouse-eaters, maybe.
Okay.
Not even yet. So I'm just looking over some clutches that just hatched. We've hatched out a lot of cool retics, so we're going to start doing some videos on retics. Please let us know if you guys want to see a bunch of retics. But we have beautiful blue-eyed leucistic retics. So these guys have just hatched. So they're literally been out of the egg for a day. And once again, we have a lot of dwarf blood in our retics. They're not pure, but they're definitely smaller growing than mainland retics. But look at that. This is a beautiful golden child or super golden child cow. And what's really cool about this clutch, why I was just thinking this is noteworthy, is these guys come from some of my calico lineage, and I'm going to show you a couple of the animals. Now, none of these guys have shed yet, so they're always going to have like this kind of weird look, you know, fresh babies. Just they have kind of like a dull sheen to them and stuff like that, so we don't really get to see the pure excellence that they are going to soon represent. Often my baby retics are just sweeter than my Burmese, but Burmese pythons, you know, once you win them over, can be just wonderful. But I always have to exaggerate that point about reticulated pythons because reticulated pythons just get such a bad rap, and they don't deserve it.
What do people say about them?
Well, a lot of people, generally people that don't really know very much, and it's due to their, maybe just their, we're going to call it ignorance or lack of really knowing their subject. Some people will think that reticulated pythons are nasty, they're mean, you know, none of that is even a snake emotion, because we know that they do it because they're afraid. So snakes, when they're biting and stuff like that, the defensive bite's not because they're mean, they're nervous and they're scared and they don't trust you. And it's our job to teach them to trust you. So what's cool about this, you see these little kind of like white patches on the side? Dumb Donny.
Yeah, I see them. Thank you.
So yeah, you're welcome. So anyways, this is an orange ghost stripe. And this animal right here, something's going on with the calico gene that's making these things come out like this. So this animal, after it sheds, is just killer. Don, you know why I'm excited today?
Why?
I saw a monarch butterfly today. So we have our first monarch butterfly in New Hampshire. And do you know anything why that even excites me?
I don't know. You're in a good mood today, but that can't be why. Are you serious?
I did like seeing a monarch butterfly in my driveway because I plant milkweed to attract monarch butterflies, and I try to propagate.
Propagate? What?
Propagate.
What's that?
If I stumbled, I meant to say propagate.
Oh, well.
Basically, I want to so I plant milkweed, and then I provide food and habitat for monarchs, and then basically I raise some caterpillars into chrysalis, and then we turn those into butterflies, which then will continue the migration. But that's like one of the little things I do. I have a whole bunch of videos on monarch butterflies, and I could easily upload them to you, and you could make a whole video on all Kevin's weird monarch butterfly stuff. And I'll even teach you how to find monarch butterfly caterpillars, which are not necessarily easy. But back to this, orange ghost stripes. So this is unlike most orange ghost stripes because they have all these white patches on them, and somehow the calico is having an influence. So these snakes are going to be just killer when they shed. See those little white patches?
Yeah.
Donnie?
Yeah.
Those are just gonna really be great. Orange ghost stripes are wonderful. They originate from Jampea lineage, so these are smaller growing, just like the phantom stripes and the golden childs. So I'm gonna show you. Let me find one snake in particular. So you can go in there and peek.
Oh, you just go in here and peek?
Yeah, go in there and peek. So these are just, this is like what it's like to hatch out clutches. Okay, so even here's a phantom stripe. So a phantom, but you see that same similar type thing with the white patches?
Yeah.
It's not as orange, and of course these snakes are going to turn a lot prettier once they shed and they get a little bit of growing. But there's something really weird going on. So if I put these guys away.
Do you have any adults that are this size that we can look at, or do you not know?
We have all sorts of different stuff. But this is all my moo lineage. So we have...
Who's moo? You don't talk about moo in your videos a lot.
Moo laid eggs.
And
so
what is moo?
Moo is a calico cow. And just gotta find.
You spend a lot of time with snarfles, and I don't think anybody knows who Moo is. So I think maybe we should show Moo later.
We'll be able to show Moo. A lot of people know who Moo is. Okay, look at this.
Okay.
So, are you seeing any of these little orange bands? Can you even see that?
Yeah.
Okay, so that, for some reason, the calico. So I know you don't know what a calico retic is.
I don't. Tell me more.
Calico retic. So you have like this snake that was once normal looking, then suddenly it becomes white and yellow and just crazy looking, and it was like literally, you're drawing flies, Donnie. Literally, it was like a dream snake. A good thing flies don't like me, but look at all the flies around.
I'm trying not to like shake the camera and ignore them, and you're just pointing them out.
I think bathing needs to be an option for you.
Yeah.
So anyway, the calico gene basically is a very tricky gene to replicate, and just for years I was breeding the calico stuff, and it is not a it's not a typical inheritable trait like many of the other different genetics that we're working with, and has to do with being sex linked, and I'm not going to go in there and clutter up everything, but they don't hatch out calico, and only occasionally some of the adults will ever go through a change. So they could be normal one day, they go into a shed and they hatch out, and they shed out in their calico. Well, these guys, when we've added the epistatic relationship between orange ghost stripe and phantom stripe, you're like, what the hell is that?
Epistatic? Like, did we need to say that word?
Yes, the epistatic relationship is when two subtle genes are bred together, and the combination of the two genes, they're reactive, and they make this thing that's intensely greater than the two base mutations. Therefore, we call that an epistatic relationship. My name is Sylvester T. Ticklebaum.
There you go. That's a note for that.
Yeah.
So anyways, let us know if you want some more Sylvester Tinklebaum. I'll even wear the goofy outfit and whatever.
We haven't really got a good outfit for him yet, but one day we will.
Oh, that hat. That hat is just awful.
He needs a safari.
So we have a safari hat.
Yeah.
So anyways, so you get the epistatic relationship, which makes these cows, and then we layer over the calico gene in some way, because the cow gene creates a leaky gene where you start, you know what a cow looks like when it's older, has all the spotting and all that different stuff like that. So the cows are just like literally one of the most amazing designer snakes I've ever produced, or that I've ever actually even seen. And it's one of my thrills of all of my, accomplishments in breeding all sorts of different snakes. See, this animal is going to go through massive changes, and it's going to get a lot of orange on. It's going to get orange banding, but we just have to let it shed and grow a little bit. But this snake, just even after its first shed, is going to be really nice.
Yo, what makes a snake a designer snake?
A designer snake is we basically, almost all mutations start out of the wild. So it's just like some oddity, and it's a visual thing. So we look at that, oh, that thing's striped, or its coloration is different, or the patterning, and the coloring is different. So we start with those genes out of the wild, and luckily with reticulated pythons, most reticulated pythons are harvested to kill. So in Indonesia and stuff, they the skinners will set up traps, and they'll often use like these monofilament nets, and they'll put them across drainage ditches. So the snakes are moving along these drainage ditches along the roads and whatever, and they're going through culverts, and what they'll do is they'll put one of these nets, it's almost like gill nets for fish, and they put it over this culvert, and as the snake's moving through it gets caught in there, and then the skinners come there and they catch the snakes, and 99.9% of all those reticulated pythons are actually murdered. And occasionally they find a snake that constitutes, this is maybe worth more alive than dead. And one interesting note, the first albino retic, they killed it, they skinned it, and that was like amazing, because albino retics, the first one, which Bob Clark, he got from the wild, he spent a lot of money, brought it in, and he proved its genetics, and that's the basis of all retics, is from Bob.
This is the original albino reticulated python, and all albino retics of this type are descended from this one founding animal.
That original base morph, like the albino, comes into captivity, and then whatever the breeder is that takes the chances, that has the money, that has the abilities and the fortitude to actually take those genetics and reproduce them in captivity, and then they start producing those animals, that is a designer snake. It's not the normal version of the snake. It's like some oddity. Then when we start breeding all these different mutations together, and we start making the compounds, which is multi genes in the same animal. Those are truly designer snakes because they're something that no way could exist in the wild, and they're literally something that we design by nature's miracles, and then we take it and we articulate the different color and pattern mutations, and we start making these fantastic looking animals that you wouldn't find in the wild. You'll never find this in the wild. The chances of getting these 3 genes together is fantastic, and let's face it, every day there's less snakes. So, you know, the heyday of a lot of these animals in the wild is gone. One thing I'm going to note, ball pythons. What's a really sad thing about ball pythons, and we're going to start, we're going to do a lot of ball python videos because we're getting eggs right now. We've been breeding ball pythons, and we're going to hatch out a bunch of ball pythons. But ball pythons in the wild, because there's so many ball pythons being bred in captivity, we're no longer so interested in the wild or the captive born or captive hatched babies over in Africa that we would normally buy and satisfy. You go to Petco and all the different stuff, and everybody wanted to get baby ball pythons. Well, now we're breeding so many ball pythons, we don't really need these farmed ball pythons. Well, that's changed the dynamics of how all ball pythons originate in Africa. And basically, the people valued the ball python adults, and they wanted to propagate the idea that if we have more ball pythons on the land, they're going to breed, they're going to make more babies, and if we're harvesting the eggs and the babies, we leave the adults alone, and it's really what the babies that are being kept for pets. There's always a renewable resource. So if you leave those adults there and you basically help propagate or foster the idea that these adults are living in all this agricultural land, they're eating the rodents, we're taking the eggs, we're hatching out the babies, we return some of the babies to the wild, and the rest are then exported as pets. That really created a beautiful balance. That balance is now broken because we're producing so many ball pythons in captivity. We don't need those wild babies. And a lot of people think, oh, that's fantastic. It's not fantastic. This is the downside. What's happened now is these people that are depending on these animals for their livelihood still have to look at it as a resource. So if it's no longer a captive bred little or captive hatched little ball python that's sent over to the United States for pets, we still have these adults and we still have the babies. What's the next thing they're going to do? Oh, we're going to skin them. We're going to tin them. We're actually going to kill the adults now and use their meat, and then we're going to set up canning operations where then that basically the meat, or as a delicacy or whatever it is in all the different cultures. So now they're going to take that big beautiful female ball python that normally every year they would go to that same hole and collect her eggs. They're going to pull her out and they're going to kill her, and they're going to harvest her, and she's going to die. And it's really tragedy now. So the days of cheap ball pythons out of the wild are pretty much at an end. So remember, there's always kind of little things that you want to consider when you have your ideas about animals that are coming out of certain environments.
Aren't you happy though they're at least eating it and not just like skinning it and throwing? No, you don't like that. So
I'd love to think that the ball pythons had this great place in the wild where they can live, and they're basically a farmer's friend because they're natural rodent control. So more ball pythons, you have the potential to take down more rats. I was watching one thing, and in India they basically equated that one rat stores 25 pounds of grain. So that the farmer that's basically has their crops is losing 25 pounds of grain. So a snake is their friend. So they've actually propagated the idea that if you forego killing the animal and you learn to live with the animals, these are going to catch these rats that would normally be stealing your crop. And so that people learn to live in balance. Well, we just ruined this balance because we did have a really interesting balance for like Ghana, Togo, and Benin over in Africa, and that has now been destroyed. And now when you start eating your product, so to speak, you're basically going to ruin it.
Snakes.
This is Kevin's camera that he uses when I'm not here. It's top of the line. It's great.
That's an iPhone 3, folks. Look at that.
Let me show you my wallet. You know how rich people live?
How do they live?
All right.
Well, you're rich, so tell me how you live.
I am rich, folks. It is so much. I'm driving 20-inch chrome Twinkies on my Pinto.
What's a twink? Okay, never mind. Yeah.
20-inch chrome Twinkies.
I never heard of that before.
That's like my rims. They're all like shiny.
Are you about to show off how rich you are?
Do you see my wallet?
Oh my God. Wait.
Yo.
This is so great.
This wallet is made with tape.
Why? Are you serious? Because you don't want a leather wallet, or you just... What?
know.
No, explain. All right, so what do we got here?
Some just anthrax tiger. This is a tiger anthrax clutch. Just some of the results. Anthrax is a really weird gene, and then mixing it with tiger, it's cool. Just such a interesting thing. If anybody knows, I'm the originator of anthrax. It's an animal that out of the wild, and its hets we refer to as granite backs. Hi guys. These are all albinos, and these are all from albino anthrax to a citrus female. And what's really cool is I have this gene we call citrus, and it's something I kind of didn't really focus on, but it makes it turns up the saturation. So I bred the citrus into albino, and you get this really nice orange that's basically super saturated. So these would be lavender to purple. We'll see, but they're just doing their first sheds. But these are really great. And at the very least, these are all het anthrax.
I hope this camera does it justice. These are really orange.
They're so orange. If you compare this to like a normal retic, it's pretty crazy. But they're really, I didn't make a lot of them either.
Is this the first of their kind?
Well, yeah, with the genetics, oh, clearly. Yeah, so these are het anthrax, so they're albino het anthrax with citrus blood. So yeah, this is kind of, this is great for somebody who wants to breed the retics. I'm not going to say it's going to be the most, as it stands right here. This is not the standalone final product we're trying to get. We're going to make albino anthrax that are citrus, and that's really what we want. But look how pretty, and look how well behaved they are. We'll just take some of these retics over here. Just pretty, eye candy. This one hasn't shed yet. Some super tiger, platinum, motley, gibberish. Look at that, look how well behaved.
Oh, this looks good.
Hi guys. See how sweet they are? Look at that thick stripe. That's just beautiful.
Yeah, have you had to name any of these recently? Do you have like a new one? Do you ever come up with new names anymore? Or are they all?
Oh, certainly. Wait until ball pythons hatch. I love to make goofy names with ball pythons.
We should let the viewers come up with
we can. You guys want to do that? We can do that.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, that's cool.